Hello and welcome to this week's episode in which I'm joined by John Stuckey from Bear Hug Campers, who specialise in custom-built campers, RVs, campervans. And John is based on the outskirts of the South Downs in the UK. And today we're going to talk about why John got started with van conversions, road trips, how to rebuild a campervan, how to even think about beginning to build a custom campervan or home on wheels, should we say that? And all the questions you can imagine related to this topic. John, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Having a lovely Sunday afternoon here in slightly muggy weather in my attic room, so I've got all the windows open. But all good, all good.
It's been great weather, isn't it, in the UK last month or two?
It's great. It's almost too hot, I would say, but that's just me being a stereotypical British tepid weather person.
And no one has aircon, do they? That's the problem.
It's not a thing.
Yeah, same here actually. Like the flats here don't have aircon, but they brought in a rule. We had a Superdome. I don't even remember the Euros that was rearranged. Was that 2021? I remember watching the Euros in the summer here, and was it 2021 or 2020? One of the two. But it was super hot, and from then, because it's called like a Superdome hot dome thing, where this basic heat got trapped onto Vancouver. They're like, no, we need new rules. So they brought in a new rule where any new builds are going to have aircon, but the problem is that doesn't come in until 2027. Everyone else has got older buildings with no aircon, unless you get like a fancy apartment.
Yeah.
So people are struggling to like, what do we do? Do we try and move, or do we install an aircon unit? But it has to be done though, right? It's getting hotter. It
is getting hotter. Yeah, it has been in the back of our minds, but we'll see how it goes for the next few years.
Yeah. Okay. And you said I said you're in South Downs in UK. Can you explain to my listeners, maybe North American listeners, where that is in UK?
South Downs in the UK it's one of the kind of national park areas. It is fairly close to the coast on the south coast, maybe about 2 hours south of London. And it's kind of sandy forests, lots of pine forests and little hills and stuff. Very pretty sort of part of the world.
It's like a small town, small village area?
So I'm kind of on the border of it. So where I live is actually in the county of Surrey. And my workshop is a little bit more south, and that's in Hampshire, which is technically in the South Downs. Yeah.
Okay, great. And we're going to go to some backstory. And before we get into the van conversion stuff, can you tell listeners, is that where you grew up initially? And was like, I don't know, campervanning or road tripping, was that part of your childhood growing up?
So it's not where I grew up. I grew up in the east of England, an equally countryside sort of part of the world. That is in Essex, which doesn't have the best rep.
I'm from Norwich.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Not too far. It's actually got some really nice countryside around there. It's a lot of kind of agriculture, so loads of massive fields and nice places to walk in between. And we're from a small country sort of market town there, like unbelievably quaint British type thing. And yeah, we did travel a fair amount. I would say 90% kind of UK holidays.
Yeah.
We went a lot to the north of England, like kind of Lake District and things, and quite a lot to Wales. So I kind of got quite a good memories of traveling around the UK and just kind of turning up at some random. They were called like Airbnb wasn't a thing then. It's like self-catering. That was
yes, that's the word. Yeah.
That's the word. So you never really knew what you were going to turn up to because online reviews didn't exist and anything. So I had a few kind of dodgy ones, but yeah, definitely did some good exploring.
That's a throwback, isn't it? Self-catering.
Yeah, self-catering.
So thinking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that just means you go to the shop, you buy your own food, you cook your own food, and you literally stay in someone's house or
someone's
spare, I don't know.
It's basically Airbnb, but
yeah,
without the
I guess
labor.
it is. Yeah. Oh, wow. Self-catering, yeah. Because then you get half board, don't you? Which means you get breakfast.
I've not heard of that one. Is that? I suppose that's like a bit like a B&B or something.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, half board. Yeah, B&B. Yeah,
we share our age now.
Yeah, yeah. Which is like almost the same, but I guess you get fed breakfast by the owners. But yeah, I guess it's like Airbnb with a spare room and you get breakfast.
Yeah.
But now
I always find that a bit awkward. Like I quite liked the ones where you sort of turn up, there's a key box, you don't need to speak to anyone, and you go in and checkout's all online and stuff like that. It's the introvert in me probably quite enjoys that.
B&Bs are still going, aren't they? They're still.
I think you get some of the classic seaside town B&Bs and stuff like that. Yeah.
But maybe not quite as big anymore because of Airbnb, maybe.
Yeah.
No, Yeah, an interesting one. Okay. And you mentioned Wales and north of England. I mean, scandalously, I've not really been to Wales that much, apart from Cardiff. And then I've never been to Lake District or Peak District, right? So they're areas of the UK where if people are thinking, oh, where should I visit? This is like full of like small little villages, lakes, hills, country pubs, that sort of vibe, isn't it?
Yeah. So the Lake District is for kind of English terms impressive, you know, hills and rivers and lakes and stuff. I would say is pretty impressive. It's pretty north, so it's like not a million miles away from Scotland. So it's got kind of nods to that kind of style of countryside. They're all national parks. So each national park like that, Peak Districts, Lake Districts, South Downs, you know, all those, they all have their own type of style of countryside and how it looks. I really like the Peak District as well. So I lived in Yorkshire for 10 years as well. So we went a lot to Yorkshire Dales and Peak District and stuff on walks and things. And yeah, it's really, you can find some really secluded sort of big open spaces there, which I think in England is like something that's quite nice to find because sometimes it feels quite on top of each other in the cities and things.
That's the opposite of here in Camden. There's so much space.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if people are thinking probably like an old, I don't know, country TV show that's filmed in England, they're probably filming it in Peak District, aren't they? That there's classic stone walls and walking trails and country pub, right?
Yeah. Like, what's big over there? I don't know, like Downton Abbey, that's filmed up it's supposed to be kind of near York, Ripon and stuff, but that kind of, everything's like nice stone buildings and little streets and stuff, and it all still 100% looks like that now. So yeah, driving a big van through some of those is a little bit interesting, but but yeah, very good just to like take it all in and soak it up.
Yeah, like great walking trails and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a bit of a dream in the summer, isn't it? Yeah, actually thinking about it. Okay, and you said American road trip here for maybe a trip that fueled your wanderlust. So I think when we think of road trips, I don't know if you agree with this, growing up in the UK, when you probably grow up, you learn a bit of geography and maybe a bit of travel, you kind of always think, road trip in USA, like going across, I don't know, Route 66 or something, right? That's always in the mind, isn't it, I think? Yeah,
I think it's like so many films on it and things, and it seems like the ultimate, for someone in the UK, like the ultimate kind of road trip, you know, kind of road tripping, because a road trip in the UK is kind of going up the M1 and stopping at service stations to see your mates that live in the north or south or something. But so I actually went on my own and I'd saved up for ages. That's one of the things I was just like, I just want to do this. I hired because I'm really into bikes. So I hired a Harley over there and I went from, LA, up kind of through the edges of the sort of desert and stopping at various places and things, and went up to Reno and basically turned around and came back again and stopped in a different set of places. So it's probably, I don't know, 10 or so days or something, but it was really good. Love to do it again.
I think what we found in that part where you get out of the city part of California or something, or even Oregon or Washington State, when you go to the eastern parts of those states, that is desolate. Like it is nothing around apart from the odd gas station or maybe the odd thing you might see on the road. But other than that,
I don't know. I went in like end of June or July or something, but it did feel like nobody was about a lot of the time. I was expecting it was very hot. I was expecting it to be kind of super busy, but I was going through, you know, some small towns that felt like an old Western movie or something. With just like an old bank and a gun shop and, you know, riding through on your bike, stopping for a burger and stuff. A lot of it was like very cool. And that, I like that. So and you know, I went to Reno and I spent kind of 5 minutes there, and it was after that whole south to north trip, suddenly it was a bit much. And I was like, but I had the freedom just to kind of, because I didn't sort of book anywhere in advance. I just kind of jumped on my bike and cracked on.
Stayed in those motels.
Lots of, some interesting motels.
Interesting. Good diplomatic word that is,
Yeah.
We road tripped from east to west in USA, but we had 6 or 7 weeks. But when we got from South Dakota, which is where the classic Deadwood series is filmed at, and it still looks like that. That's why it's a tourist attraction now. But it's still got those, like, you push the doors through and all that sort of stuff. From there to Oregon, and we stopped off in one place called Christmas Valley. It was the most desolate I've ever been, and we almost got like a little bit worried because we're not seeing anyone for 2 hours. And it had one of those like petrol stations where you have to like pump it. I didn't know how to work it. I said, "Hey, look, I'm going to have some help here. I don't know how to do this." Like one of those old classic gas stations. But I remember like filling up there, and that was the last thing we saw for 2 hours before driving into wildfire smoke into this like really small place in the middle of nowhere. And it was just full of RVers. There's no one else there. It's just RV campers, probably like a little community, maybe. Don't know, just like settling in the middle of a desert.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if there's not much around, you kind of have to have like a tortoiseshell on your back kind of thing to be able to actually enjoy it if there's nowhere to really stay. But yeah, there's a few things that you just don't realize are different, like really simple things. You have to pay for your petrol before filling up.
Oh yeah.
And then nothing seems to be kind of like here, everything's just like contactless or with your phone. And there I was just signing so many kind of credit card checks and things. And it kind of felt quite old school actually, but I did quite like it.
Yeah, that's a weird one, the sign stuff they have over there. Yeah. Yeah. And also you still write on the tip, you write the tip extra and sign it. Like, does that even work? I don't even know how it works. But, yeah.
I did make sure that, I wasn't a proper Brit abroad. I was definitely trying to be generous with tips for things, on my own. And people were very, very nice, very friendly as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. You do find that in the countryside of USA, which is like huge.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned USA road trip. Was there any other travel like internationally after that or before that?
The other big trip that we did, me and my partner here, was Japan. And that was like, so we every now and again would, do a big trip that's obviously a bit more expensive, but then in between we'll do like kind of more easier to reach places, I suppose. But Japan was a place that my partner has been kind of really wanting to go to for forever. And I hadn't really thought about it too much. And then when we went, like instantly, I was like, this is a next level. It's just incredible. Kyoto was my absolute favorite place. It was, I can't even explain how kind of different and amazing it is just to go there. And I'm desperate to go back again and do a bit more traveling, kind of going a little bit more north into the countryside as well.
It's like a futuristic place, isn't it? It's hard to describe it, especially if you go somewhere like Osaka, where you've got 3 levels of transport underneath you, road level and above you. It's like, what is going on here? Lights everywhere. It's a different world, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
So like Tokyo and Osaka are kind of like that, and then you go to somewhere like Kyoto, and it's like ancient,
going back in time.
Like,
isn't it?
It's kind of like you can't move for temples and stuff, and it's just it was so much like that. And then we went to Osaka afterwards, and it was like another culture shock just from being in Kyoto.
I think we had that. I think we finished in Osaka, and I actually got a bit of a culture shock there. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
It seems to be in some sort of order, but I don't know how this order works. Yeah. Japan's an amazing country. It's the one country that we always say that we'll go back to, and we've not been back since. But I think it's on the cards, I think, 100%. Yeah. Also for Japan, I think road tripping would be quite interesting. In a campervan.
Definitely.
Imagine that.
If you, obviously you'd have to kind of hire something over there.
Yeah.
But I think it would be really interesting to sort of drive up and so you can kind of go in your own time. Because when you fly internally to places, I feel like you miss a lot of things.
Yeah.
So you'll go from one big city to another big city. And yes, you can do kind of train trips out to see things like, different mountains or whatever. But I think if you're driving or campervanning and going a little bit, making the kind of journey between those 2 big places and stop off at some places, maybe don't have too much of a itinerary or something. Yes. I think that's where you can have some really kind of good experiences.
But I think people don't road trip it that much because the trains are so good.
Yes.
The Shinkansen is insane, isn't it?
Yeah. They're amazing. And we were on a kind of day trip out to somewhere, and there was only like one train every couple of hours or something. And they held the train for us for about a minute.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize that's what they were doing, but they're so polite and so kind of courteous. They held the train. So we ended up kind of running for it and got on. And then it like just absolutely double timed it and kind of made up that 2 minutes that it missed and just arrived exactly on the second. Yeah, it puts us to shame. Let's say
does.
that.
Yeah, compared to UK trains, my word, that is a different level. Yeah. And again, built, we're still talking about HS1, aren't we? Or HS2, whatever it is. Yeah, it's taken like 100 years. So yeah, they get this like amazing network of Shinkansen bullet trains built. Yeah, it's incredible. Okay. And before we dip into Bear Hug Campers and the questions about converting camper vans, was there a road trip where maybe you thought, I would like to build my own camper van, or maybe think about maybe having a custom one built that suits your needs for any other road trips coming up? Was there a trip like that?
The first kind of, I suppose, experience of it, I'd always, one of my first jobs was actually in an events company, and we were in caravans quite a lot. So we'd go to Europe and UK and stuff, doing these big shows and festivals, doing all the setup and the kind of the tech for it. So I had a caravan. It wasn't mine. It was just the company's.
Yeah.
It gets you into that frame of mind. And that was from the age of 16 to maybe like 21, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like, I just really enjoyed having that space that was yours, and you're really protective over it. It was like your safe space.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an absolutely horrible old thing, but it's yours. And it was something about having your space wherever you went, with your own food and your own toilet and your own safe space to kind of sleep and things in all the carnage wherever you are. I didn't realize that maybe had sparked something, but it kind of got that into me. I think just traveling, and like we've always moved a lot, lived in lots of different places, just in the UK, but like my family can never seem to stay in a house more than a few years and stuff. And so it's been like that from, when I was, really little and stuff. So I think that's all got a kind of normality in my head of kind of moving around, traveling, campervanning type thing. And we actually had a van. So when I was doing a bit more bike building, I had a van that was just used for hauling bikes and stuff. And we decided to go to Belgium for just a holiday. And we stayed on just outside of, I can't actually remember, it was just outside of now, but we stayed in this kind of motorhome campsite thing, and we didn't have anything in there. I think I'd put some carpet on the floor, and we just got a mattress from our spare room and chucked it in there, and then some camping chairs, and we borrowed a little camping stove.
Yeah.
And when we rocked up there, all these like European, like super pro motorhome people were there with like everything out, washing lines and things like that. And they all were really amused by our entrance into this site. And the van looked fine, but when we kind of opened it all up, there was just nothing in there. But we had the most fun, because it was something quite liberating about having something that not you didn't care about, but that it was like your expectations were so low that everything was good fun after that. And that really was like, okay, let's do something with this van now, So that was maybe the catalyst, let's say.
And how did you start going about maybe learning like the skills? Because I guess we'll come on to this a bit more, but if people are thinking right now, just at a basic level, or like in that situation, I'd love to like add some cabinets, or maybe add a little bit of like a water tank. You're gonna have to like learn all sorts, aren't you? Like woodwork, plumbing. Like how do you go about learning those skills?
It's a crazy amount of different skills that you kind of need to pick up in one space. I mean, the best way to think about it is it's a studio apartment in a van that also has to be able to be kind of launched down the motorway at 70 miles an hour kind of thing. So, and then turning corners and going over speed bumps. So it's like, it's harder than that. But I'd always been kind of brought up doing loads and loads of practical stuff. So my dad was a retired carpenter, among other things. So he taught me loads of stuff like that. I was doing metalwork on bikes and just, moving a lot and fixing things at home and learning kind of electrics and plumbing and stuff. So kind of built up a general palette, I suppose, of skills, but then transferring them into a camper van, everything is slightly different. So if you know household plumbing, it is different in a camper van, like using different things and stuff. Yeah. So, and I did kind of look for like like courses or like how you can find things, learn all this stuff. But because it is such a massive subject, it's quite hard to find things like that, which is, well, we can mention this later, but it's one of the reasons why we now run a course for that. So for people in that position, have something to actually get them going. So what I did, I just got a van and just had a crack, fully knowing that it was going to all, be a bit of a disaster. And it was fine. And then I kind of learned by doing that. And then I stripped it out and I did it again in the same van. So I knew by that point that I was in the back of my mind, was like, I can do this and I would love to do this as a job. So I was kind of doing that with that in mind, like how good can I get this? How much can I learn? Redo it until I can, get better. Because I think by that time I was a bit sick of having a kind of office job, sitting on a computer for 10 hours a day. And I was just desperate to move. I was getting such kind of jumpy legs. I was like, I need to go and do something. So I was thinking like, what kind of encompasses all of the things I like to do and different skills and things. And that was about the most comprehensive kind of subject that I could put to that. So yeah, kind of skipping ahead to why we started what we're doing, but that was kind of, I suppose, the way I got into it.
And then, let's go to why. So why, well, I guess that explains why, but where did Bear Hug come into it? Was there a phase even before Bear Hug where you're kind of honing your skills, if you like, on certain campervans or your friends' campervans or just your campervan before you started Bear Hug? Yeah,
definitely. So it was that campervan, I suppose, that I was kind of redoing. It was all, behind closed doors. I didn't have an Instagram account kind of sharing it or anything. I was just kind of cracking on. And all the other things I kind of am into as well, like woodwork, metalwork, graphic design, photography. And I just really like kind of the runnings of a business and, all that kind of organization. So I was just constantly thinking like, how can and I knew I wanted to kind of work for myself and run a small business. So I was just thinking, how can I put all of those things into something? And that was kind of what I came up with. Looking back at it, I was pretty like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's crack on, let's go for it. But luckily it's worked out all right. But I went into it thinking that I'd done loads of planning and stuff, but I now know, probably like starting any small business, I now know that there was so much that I didn't know. Not necessarily in just building campervans, but in the whole running of a business and stuff. But you just learn, don't you? You just do it, make mistakes, change, learn, do it again. So yeah, it's definitely different every single day. And we've gone through various iterations of stuff and, all sorts of things. So it's always kind of pivoting and morphing into something as I change, the business changes, the world changes, everyone else changes and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely interesting.
I think you can't be on the job learning. I don't think a course or a book is going to get you that far. I think it might give you a basic understanding, but the things that you've learned, I guess, day to day with your business are unique to your business and you, I suppose. So how are you going to learn that from someone else? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bit like podcasting in a way. Like people release podcast courses about how to get, I don't know, sponsorship or how to get this certain amount of downloads, but everyone's journey is different and the subject is different and you're different. There's no one course fits all. It's an interesting debate for that, for podcasting anyway. But for Bear Hug, can you tell the people what you roughly, well, not roughly, but like as an elevator pitch, what do you do now? What do you offer? And how does that help people with campervans and maybe campervan conversions?
So I'd say we offer three main things, which is a complete full commission. So you bring a van, we turn it into a campervan, and we work together in quite a collaborative way to do that.
Yeah.
The other thing is a dedicated system install. I would say mostly electric systems. That's one of the things we've kind of morphed into being specialists at. Mm-hmm. You might be building your own van and maybe just want someone else to do that part of it.
Yeah.
Or you might already have a van and just want to put a brand new big swanky off-grid system in it or something. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is helping self-builders. And this is more online. So we're not set up to have a massive workshop. We can have loads of people in and physically teach them. And what I found is we were getting literally hundreds and hundreds of questions just through emails and Instagram and stuff, like every single month, of self-builders that liked what we did and they were doing it themselves. So they were never going to be a full commission customer. But they just had questions. And because I knew the position they were in from me being in that position a number of years ago, I would just make a point to try and answer every single question that came in. And there were so many. I was like, there needs to be something where this is available. So I spent a year developing an online course for van conversions and self-builders, but to make it not so kind of stuffy, I suppose, stale. It's more like a community in a course with me as part of that. So I'm on there answering questions. There is loads of content and videos and all the rest of it, but I'm on there answering questions pretty much every day. We have monthly catch-ups on Zoom. People are like in their van with, showing it around and like we're all chatting about. So it is quite a not lonely experience, but it's like, it can be, you might feel a bit secluded, I suppose, when you first start. Like, you've got all these questions, you've got no one to ask. So just trying to make this community course where we have that as a thing. And because they're paying for it, they don't feel like they're kind of annoying you or anything. So it's like a thing. So it's not like it's not a massive, not got hundreds of people on there, but the people that are on there are like super like dedicated, and they kind of love it. And they will, they even go for like meetups with each other now and stuff, the ones that live fairly locally to each other and stuff, and they're helping each other out as well. So sometimes I'm not even answering a question. So that's quite nice just to see that build up. So yeah, those are the three pillars, I suppose, of Bear Hug as it stands.
Yeah, I think even they become experts, right? I imagine, after a while.
One of them actually has got a job, another van conversion company
in
England as well. So it must be all right.
There you go. You've done your job. Okay. And you mentioned some of these questions that they may ask. I've actually got a few of those questions in case people are thinking or listening right now, like, oh yeah, I wonder what it would take to start it or get it going, right? So I've got some questions here. So you mentioned you obviously got your expertise and stuff. I'm going to go with budget because I think people probably think money first. Let's go with basic, mid and luxury. A self-conversion for each one of those. How much roughly do you think budget-wise you'd be looking to spend? Let's go with English pounds as well, I think.
English pounds, okay. Yeah. Not including the van, so just the conversion?
Just the conversion.
Just the conversion. Okay, so it's different whoever you speak to because everyone's got a different level of what they want the final outcome to be. Because I know some people that they do a lot of like sort of recycling work with, with materials and things. So they can literally build something for nothing, and it's incredible what they do. Yeah. But let's say you're just buying everything from a shop, supplier, whatever. I would say a budget one would be 2,000 to 5,000 spend. And that's to get like everything that you would want. So, like water system, gas system, electrics, somewhere to sleep, somewhere to sit, eat, and everything like that. And then I would say mid, maybe 8 to 10, and then top end, maybe like 15. And that's like decent. If you've got 15,000 to spend on a conversion, you're going to get like pretty much everything you want. But there are certain things that just cost a lot of money. So if you're putting in extra 2 seats in the back to, make it a 4-berth or something like that, you're going to be spending like £1,000 on those seats because that's just kind of how much they cost. So it all really does depend what you're kind of going for. If you're like happy not to have hot water, and if it's just you and your dog and you want it to look beautiful but really simple, then you can spend so much less. But then as soon as you start saying, right, we want hot water, we want heating, or like we want aircon, or we want everything to be off grid, and we want to be off grid for a week and not have to plug in, suddenly it's like boom, 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 and it all just massively adds up. So yes, you could literally see 2 vans side by side that would look identical. One would have cost in parts and materials, one would have cost 5, one would have cost 10. And it's just kind of what you choose to put in behind it.
Okay, it's interesting. I guess we'll come to the vans in a minute, like what type and the price of those. But And then a pro conversion. I guess this would be people come to you, right?
Yeah. So I would say 99% of people that come to us, they want kind of everything in it that they want. So they want hot water, heating, maybe 50% want a kind of shower inside and toilet and things. You know, they want a decent fixed bed, everything. They want it to be professional. So we don't have that ability to go on the budget, skip diving, as they say, kind of thing. So we're doing it so everything we do has got like a base level of kind of systems, in terms of like electrics and all the rest of it. And then everything on top of that is where it's a sliding scale. So I would say for smaller van conversions that are a bit more simple, it might be 20,000 and all the way up to maybe 65,000. And that was one that we'd done, and it's got like massive electric system. So fully off grid, you know, like put an induction hob there and stuff. It had aircon that you could also run off grid. So like all that kind of stuff. Wow. It had a big shower in there, a toilet that pulled out inside the shower room. So it was pretty full on, but that's just what they wanted. They were going to be in it a lot, traveling around for long periods of time. So it was more like, you know, you're not kind of, when you're talking of that kind of level of stuff, it's not like you're competing with different campervan companies and things. It's almost like somebody likes your style and likes your vibe and they like you. And it's either they get a kitchen extension at home or they get a campervan. So it's that kind of more of a different mindset. Whereas if you're more on the lower end of stuff, it's often people that maybe just want something to go out for a weekend with the kids or something, and just to kind of upgrade camping so that it's a bit more luxurious and stuff. So but we do cater for that kind of range of people. It's just nice to see what everyone wants, and everyone's different.
This is a new question actually, what are the top 5 things that people normally do have across the spectrum of basic to luxury? I've got some guesses here, but I'd be intrigued to see what you think in terms of what people generally do choose to have.
There's a certain level of stuff that is almost like non-negotiable that just always goes in, like insulation and, you know, just standard things like that. I would say, well, you always need somewhere to sleep. Well, not always if you're having a day van, but 99% of the time you need somewhere to sleep.
Yeah.
So that would either be a fixed bed or a converting bed that also doubles as a seating area. Some way of cooking, whether that's a gas hob connected to a big gas system with an underslung gas tank, or a small little camping gas bottle under the sink in a locker, or, you know, something like that. Sometimes even just a little portable one where they're happy just to have a pull-out shelf outside or something like that. But pretty much you need somewhere to cook, and then somewhere to lounge and sit down, and some, you know, to eat off a table or something like that. Those are your kind of basic things that are always in there, and going along with something to eat is some sort of kitchen prep sort of area.
Yes.
And then storage. How can I forget about storage? Yeah. Storage. People absolutely love talking about storage and getting storage in there. I like to travel light, so I'm kind of, it never crosses my mind as much as it does, but it seems to be storage solutions and available storage spaces in a van is almost more important than showering and going to the toilet, I would say.
Wow. Okay. I wouldn't say that, but okay, that's interesting.
Not me personally, but
me personally. Yeah. Basically, because our camper van is a small Toyota Sienna, so it's like from year 2000, and we have a lot of storage space and a little kitchen area and somewhere to sleep, and a sofa that converts into both of those, but nowhere to go for toilet or shower. And I'm telling you, I'd rather have less storage and have a toilet and a shower. 100%.
I think you miss what you don't have, don't you? So if you had a big camper and every cupboard was filled up with some different fancy system and there's nowhere to put anything, and you had a shower there, then you might just get frustrated at that.
Yeah, that's true. Which goes on nicely to the next question is, where can people save money without sacrificing quality?
That is a great question. So, because you can save money by getting cheaper things, so like the equivalent thing but cheaper. But usually stuff is a kind of a standard for a reason, like a particular system component. is like a standard popular choice for a reason. Yeah. And if it's twice as much as, something you can get from Amazon or eBay or something, there might be a reason for that.
True.
But where you can save money and still have an incredible van at the end of it, I would say, is just to be clever about what you really need, and also just honest with yourself about what you really need and what you really don't need. So we go through this whole thing, whether someone's doing their self-build that we're helping them with, or whether it's a full commission. It's kind of working out your must-haves and your nice-to-haves. So must-haves, like you literally only have maybe 2 or 3 of those, and you build the van around that. So a must-have, for example, would be, for someone, it would be a toilet. Or someone else, it would be a fixed bed because I just don't want to make it up every day. Someone else, it might be, I want lots of kitchen space because cooking is what we like to do when we're out. So so that's like a must-have. So a couple of those, and then everything else is kind of then goes into the nice to have column. Mm-hmm. And when you've got a small space that you're designing, when you're trying to pile everything in there, you end up kind of moving everything around on the paper and nothing's really fitting.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating. And all you need to do is just take one thing, take it out, and then suddenly everything fits perfectly. So kind of going on a bit more to layout design there, but it also correlates and works around cost as well. So if you remove an entire system, let's say hot water, that might be not on somebody's must-have list. They're not, fussed about having hot water. You can remove potentially like a whole system there, which could be like £1,000 or something. So, or one of the biggest ways of saving money, I think, is removing a shower wet room type thing, because they are massively labor intensive to build, quite expensive, really tricky, waterproof everything, take up a lot of space. And you definitely need hot water with that. And so that's like one thing. If that's not on your must-have list, and the way you're using the van, it might be more at campsites and things where you do have facilities, then you can save a decent chunk there. So I would say it's things like that as opposed to just buying cheap.
And before we crack on for the episode, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever app you use to listen to the podcast. It really helps the podcast gain a bit of traction. It's free and it only takes a minute or 2. Second of all, if you'd like to donate some money to the podcast production costs, you can buy me a coffee for $5 at buymeacoffee.com/winging it. The link is in the show notes. That really helps me too. And finally, word of mouth. Please spread the podcast to your friends, family, and get them to tune in to the Winging It Travel podcast. Hopefully they'll love the content and come back for more, as there are plenty more guest episodes, solo episodes, and immersive audio episodes too. Thanks so much. Let's get back into the second part of my interview. To flip this, where do you not cut corners or never cut corners?
I would say anything that's got a kind of safety element. So if you've got kind of gas, electrics, heating, things like that, we would always and only put in the reputable brands that are designed for that purpose. Like Victron Energy for electrics, Truma for kind of heating, water heating, things like that. And there's a few different gas ones like Thetford and stuff. If you will be able to find stuff online that is like more than half as cheap. But I just think there's no point in doing that, because would you want to kind of, bring your family into a van where you're staying overnight, and that every gas component, every electric component, every heating component is like budget.
Yeah.
There's too many variables. There are too many risky elements. And then you launch down a single track road on the countryside and it's all rattling around and stuff. It's just, it doesn't bode well for longevity and safety and things. So all of those things, I would just say, if you want to have hot water, get a reputable brand hot water heater, install it properly or get it installed properly, get it checked, except you can, choose cheaper materials, some cheaper wood or whatever to put that in.
Yeah. And then that goes nicely into the rookie mistakes that maybe people make first time around, which might be your own experience as well, right? But that kind of goes on to that last question, because the temptation would be there, wouldn't it? I guess if you're on a bit of a budget, maybe first time round, to cut some of those corners, right? But I guess what are the common rookie mistakes that you see that people just shouldn't do?
I'd say the biggest one is probably it's a bit more of an abstract one. It's just making it too complicated, because it is really hard building a van, especially for the first time. And I think there is a bit of a tendency to see so much incredible stuff online.
Yeah.
And especially things that have just got huge budgets. So, I mean, we were talking about kind of 65 grand builds earlier, but I mean, you can just go as far as you want. You know, there's £200,000 builds, and in America as well. Like, I know that there are some incredible things going on in camper builds and conversions and stuff, and people are piling a lot of cash into them, which is amazing. But what happens is people are researching, and I did this as well, you know, like, and you're saving all these incredible things. You know, oh, I love that bit from there, and I love this bit from there, and this bed kind of does this, and this shower like folds out, and this pulls out here. And you kind of design your van based on an accumulation of all these incredible things. So your van plan before you've even started is like one of the most, you know, complicated design conundrums like you could even think about. And when you're trying to do that in a small space where tolerances are super tight, what will happen is you'll kind of do one thing and you've got some pull out thing here, and then that will like foul with something else, and that won't work. And what I see, which is really sad, is that people maybe get about a third of the way into a build like that. And they've spent, you know, 9 months on it, and it just gets too much. And then they either sell it like that, which is super sad, or they come to someone that can help, like us, or, you know, and they're in a bit of a state about it because it's
they spent some money as well.
Exactly. And time, and you put a lot of love into it. So I'd say making something too complicated is probably something that maybe people don't think about. And I would say it's like one of the big things that we see quite a lot. And personally, I would prefer to have a van that's finished and works and is quite simple.
Yes.
Than something that isn't finished and doesn't work and is, you know, does all the things. And it's just personal preference, but I prefer that style of van as well, where it's a bit more bright and airy, simple. It feels spacious, and it just goes with you're in a small space. So anything you can do to make it feel open, I think is a good thing. And the other thing is probably doing stuff in the wrong order. And that's
a great comment. I didn't even think about this.
Yeah, that just comes with, so I mean, I made all those mistakes as well. And that just comes with doing it or having somebody tell you which orders to do stuff in. So we, as part of our course, we talk about that quite a lot. And used to have a free download. I've kind of taken it down, but I'd be happy to kind of put it up again, which is just basically a big infographic where it's like, you know, the ideal order to do everything in. Obviously, you can, you know, don't have to stick to it 100%, but it's just certain things like you might not think about, like what goes behind the walls before you put those on, so you don't have to keep taking walls on and off, and just things like that. When do you cut this out in the van? And at what stage do you put this? And can I put the solar on after I've done all of the ceiling, or can I put a gas tank underneath after I've done the floor, and all these things? It's kind of hard to know that unless you've either done it or somebody tells you. So yeah, we do try and help people out with that as well. We get quite a few questions about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue what to start with, actually, thinking about it. Because we didn't convert our van, right? Interestingly, our van, we bought just after the first wave of COVID, I think, but where people were still a bit edgy. So what happened was, I think we got told, so we bought it off an Australian girl who was then going back home because of COVID, and she said, I just need to sell it and get rid of it. Yeah. But she said, I didn't convert this, but I bought this off a Kiwi couple from New Zealand who were going to ride to Alaska in it. But they had to go home because of COVID, right? So it's kind of like this COVID thing. So we obviously took it, bought it really cheap, and then drove it across Canada and USA. But I was thinking, oh yeah, this guy must have known what he was doing, because it is like got cabinets on one side. He's fully built out the back of it, where it's got like a rolling door of like a little cupboard thing that comes out for the cooker, and then also for the water dispenser and stuff like that. So he must have known what he was doing, because it's too intricate. And I was like, where the hell do you even start with all this? But yeah, the order must be
that's
key.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I think, for ones like yours, for smaller vans, it's even harder, I think. You got to be a lot more clever with it.
Yeah, and what's interesting actually is the bed, because we have a sliding bed, so underneath it pulls out to make it a double bed. But he must have built it just for their height, right? So my friend who's a bit taller than me, he won't fit in it because actually it can fit on the non-driver's side, but the driver's side goes back. And obviously, if you're a big guy, you're going to need as much leg room as possible in that van. So it kind of is a bit, I guess, restricted on that side.
Custom
but they must
made.
have thought about that as well. Yeah. So that's interesting how the length of that is quite interesting as well. Yeah, it's very well done. And that goes on to actually design and stuff and trends. Have you seen any trendy trends or popular trends in campervan designs?
Trendy trends.
Yeah.
I would say clever contraptions are always something that people like to kind of save online, and they get shared a lot just because they're quite satisfying to see when something does something. I would say I see a lot of bed at the moment, like beds pulling out and doing things.
Yeah.
Something that starts off as a sofa turns into a bed, but in like a super slick way. So it's like,
okay, like
undo a catch and it all kind of opens up. Or
okay, right, not as good.
Folds down from, like yours. Yeah, folds down hidden in a wall or something. I don't know if people are doing those or if they're just the ones that are going around online.
Sure. Yeah.
But I am seeing, in terms of speaking to people, like actual customers and things, I'm seeing a bit of more of a going back to smaller vans as well now. So I would say COVID, sort of just post-COVID and stuff, everyone were buying the kind of big vans like Sprinters and Crafters and things like that, and wanting something that was like a proper home on wheels kind of to go around, and the prices for those vans just skyrocketed. Before that, it was more of the smaller vans that were like the number one seller. And now I'm seeing more requests this year actually for smaller vans again. And we're actually developing a smaller van, which is the VW Transporter. We're developing a bear hug build of that. So it's not like a fully off the shelf, but we can make it a bit more affordable. So it's still got the same style as all of our bigger vans. Obviously, there's less things you can do in a smaller van, so we can kind of try and make it a little bit more repeatable, purely as a response to the upping in requests for those smaller vans that I'm seeing. Yeah. So I think things just kind of go in sort of peaks and troughs like that. So probably in another 5 years, it will go up to giant vans again.
Well, the one thing I like about a small van is that it's nondescript. Like ours is actually a car, really. So nondescript, and you don't pay the extra oversized fees on ferries and stuff like that. So I found that it's actually quite good that way for us to have a smaller one.
And you can get into car parks with the height restrictions.
Car parks, you can stay in Walmart and not be like an obvious camper van with stuff in it. So that does make a difference, I think. And which goes on nicely to the next question of, are there certain models of vans or cars that you would recommend people to consider for van conversion?
Yeah, so if we're going for the bigger van, so like a panel van, either medium wheelbase or long wheelbase, I would say there are kind of two main super popular body sizes, shapes that people go for. So in one camp, you've got Peugeot Boxer, Fiat Ducato, Citroen Relay, or in the States, I think it's Ram ProMaster. That's like a particular shape and size. And generally people go for it's the L3, which is some people call it long, some people call it medium. It's like a really good size to do everything in, and you can do a widthways fixed bed. So you can have a full size double bed widthways in the back of that van.
Wow.
So it means you can really utilize all the space there. That's a popular one. Arguably not as pretty a van from the outside, which is why Mercedes Sprinter and VW Crafter, I know Sprinters are big in the States as well, which is why they are always going to be up there on the popularity list. They're not going anywhere. Those are like super, super popular. They're maybe like 4 or 5 inches thinner than the other ones, which means mostly people put a lengthways bed in those, unless you kind of do flares and things, and you have to get custom beds kind of fitting in there and stuff. But generally you see those ones that are longer. So you'll see the longer wheelbase versions of those vans, and they are big vans. Yeah. They're big vans, but they're all good vans. They're all great. Those two camps of vans, I would say, are the popular ones. And then for a smaller van, hands down, it's the VW Transporter, winning by a country mile. It's just one of those ones that's just been around for so long.
Is that the classic one that you've seen all like the nostalgic videos of like, is it the old like 60s one where it's got like a colourful exterior and it's like blue colour in it?
Yeah, so that's where it started. It started. Yeah. So then the model now that is the popular one is like the T6. And that's the one you just got, you stick a little pop top roof in there, and you got a little kitchen unit down one side, swivel seats, and either a rock and roll bed where it's folds down or like a little pull out bed or something. And they kind of are such a good size to be able to still park on your drive and still have a family of 4 in there.
Yeah.
With an awning and all the rest of it. They're always going to be super popular. But because of that, there've been like, literally hundreds of converters that do them in the UK that I know of. But I would say to get one that's converted in the same way as the kind of conversion style that we're talking about with the bigger ones, that's a bit more like a home away from home look. Mm-hmm. I would say that's still in the minority, which is why we're trying to kind of do our version of the Transporter in that way. But yeah, so those are the ones that we see 90% of the time, those vans, I would say.
Yeah, all my social media feed of vans is that VW one. Like they have like little meetups in America where they got the classic ones, not the newer ones, I think, and they all meet up. And, just
the little classics they're awesome. Not so good as the actual functioning camper, but
yeah, so they're amazing functionally. Yeah. We kind of think this like, is it better to have like a nice trendy old one, or would you want a better functioning newer one?
Yeah.
Yeah, depends what you want to look. It's the only camper van where I would maybe consider the look of it. I don't think looks on the outside for me personally are that important. I think it's got to be a good camper van to live in or stay in.
Yeah.
But the VW, when I see those ones and like from the 60s and 70s, I'm like, I do want one of those old ones.
Yeah. Well, it's just like a classic car or something, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Super impractical, but just looks amazing.
Yeah. Great for social media, I suppose.
Yeah.
And tools. Any basic tools that people should have at least to start a conversion?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you can imagine, there are, with all the different job types in a van build, there's a million tools you could have. I would say you can get quite far with just a sort of household toolbox type stuff,
Oh, yeah.
Decent drill, screwdriver and set of things like that.
Mm.
Wood cutting is where you're going to start probably buying your first proper power tool. And you can do, it's one of those things you could do almost everything with one tool, but there is another power tool to do a specific thing. Yeah. So the first one I would get would be a jigsaw, because you can cut curves, you can cut straight lines by using a guide and things like that. Yes, it takes longer and it's harder and it's not quite as neat, but you can do it. So you kind of start there, and then your next one might be a rail saw or circular saw or something. And then, you can go off. But I would say decent woodworking tools, don't need too much metal cutting. You have to do a couple of jobs like cut windows out and things, but once they're done, and that's it. We've actually got a tool guide that you can download, just a PDF with a load of like tools and price ranges and things on our website, which is quite handy just because that's one of the questions we get.
I'll put a link in the show notes. I think people would want to know.
Yeah. And it's quite handy just to kind of see them laid out, and we've ordered them in like must-haves and nice-to-haves and things. I've done 2 talks at various shows just on tools, and I'm kind of bringing massive boxes of tools and going through it, and they were some of the most popular talks that we've done.
Okay.
So I think it's something that people do think quite a lot about, and I think people think they need everything, but you don't to start with, and you just get things as you come to a job that does need something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, tools I think it's a huge subject. You can deep dive into tools.
You can go in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another episode. I don't know if we've answered this question, but must-haves for a build. Must-haves. I mean, I guess people think, well, it's got to be a decent car. Yeah, but I guess specifics maybe into a build. There can't be things you can leave out. There's got to be must-haves in there.
I would say must-haves is what we kind of refer to as the shell. So and everything beneath that. So it's the basis that forms the structure of the conversion. So you've got the van, the metal shell, and then you've got everything inside that, which is like, the kitchen, the bed and everything. But in between those two things, you've got what we call the shell. And that's like the structure behind the walls. And then it's the paneled walls, and then the insulation as well in between the two. Because if you get that right, you can then do anything you want on the inside, because you've always got strong points to get to. Everything's insulated properly. So that's the kind of non-negotiable where every van starts the same with us. So you build it up in those kind of layers, ending with the ply walls, ceiling and floor and stuff. It's all fully insulated around that. It's all got decent battening around that so that it's all super strong. Then you can do any build you like inside of that, because you've got strong points to attach to. You've got an insulated, sound deadened van. And yeah, I suppose that's a kind of big must have for a build. Other than that, it's like you generally always need somewhere to sleep, sit, and lights, cook, eat, basic things, Neanderthal things.
yeah.
So that's kind of what everyone's using it for.
The shell is an interesting one, yeah. I didn't realise there's the bit in between, I suppose. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, do you have a favourite floor plan or layout?
I do, yes. And I thought it was just my favourite, but we have since done 2 vans, and the next van we've got in is this one as well. Okay. And I think maybe people saw one of the ones we did and then kind of thought it wasn't a super popular one that I saw online, but we just did it for us. The reason why we did it is because there's 2 of us with a dog, big dog, golden retriever, and he needs a lot of space. He needs a lot of floor space.
Yeah.
And I don't particularly like being in a van where you've got loads of kind of floor to ceiling stuff, like a corridor down the middle. So you've got 2 people and a dog trying to move around in there in the evening. It can easily, get really hard. Someone's climbing on the kitchen to try and let someone else pass and stuff. So this layout is as open and spacious as it can be while still having pretty much everything in there. So it's in the ProMaster Citroen Relay type van. So fixed bed at the back, side to side widthways, big garage space underneath. So all of your gear, all of your traveling stuff, like all of that stuff goes under there.
Yeah.
Big electric system in a side cupboard underneath there over one of the wheel arches. And then in the main living space, it has so we built a bulkhead back up. So remove the van bulkhead and build our bulkhead there, which is insulated with a window. So you can kind of see through into the back there as well. And then that creates a section of wall in an L shape. So then you build an L-shaped kitchen across the bulkhead and then back down behind the driver's seats. So it's a nice L-shaped kitchen. And then next to that, in between there and the bed, is a single bench seat. Opposite that single bench seat is another bench seat, which is like a single and a half, sticks out over the side door a little bit. So you've got a nice place for 2 people to sit and have a little table in between that. But then it also just gives a really open floor space. It's like an L-shaped open floor space going to the side door. So if you've got your awning out and you've got your door open, it's quite a sociable open space. And because you've got quite a lot of low-level stuff in that L-shaped kitchen, you don't feel kind of over, whatever, I can't think of the words. You don't feel kind of over kind of encompassed by it all. It's like, it's quite nice to be, a nice space to be in. Bright and airy. Those are the words that I love.
Yeah. That's what I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think, we learned that in our van, as soon as you start going on long trips and you start to get annoyed with little things.
Yeah.
It does take its toll. Yeah. Okay. And we've got here, and let's go with, let's do like bear hug questions. So someone can come to you with an idea, I suppose, or maybe with just a bit of advice. Like, how can you help people who are thinking maybe of doing a conversion or a partial conversion, and how can you guys help them?
So I'd say we see 2 sets of customers, if you want to boil it down into really simple terms. The people that want a full commission, and then they kind of either go with us or not, and that's what they're wanting.
So it's like a discovery call. Is that what it's like?
Yeah. So they'll get in touch with us, and we'll have a chat on the phone or something, and kind of find out where they're at and what they want, and if it's something we can help with. And if it all goes well, then we'll do a full build. And that takes, for like a few months, and it's a big job, and you get this beautiful van at the end of it, and it's from zero to everything turnkey finished. So that's kind of one camp of people. And then the other camp is the ones that we generally help with systems. So like for the most part, electric systems, or it might be a water system or something. And those are the people that usually are doing it. They're quite early on in a self-build. So they've got, fairly empty van, or they might have done the insulation in the walls or something like that. Then it might come to us. We might do kind of like an off-grid electric system, some underslung tanks or something like that. And it might be with us for 2 weeks or so. And those are the people also that may join the training school community to kind of have that side of things. So I'd say the full build commissions is like our bread and butter for the actual business. Yeah. That's the thing that just always happens. And then the other stuff that's, we might have 2 weeks in between full build or whatever, and we can kind of work things around that in that way.
And the training school, is that like a course over time, or is it like you pay for a course and then you get given the materials to do in your own time? How does that work?
Yeah, so we've tried a few different things with it, and we're actually going to do something different with it very soon, which I can mention. So currently it is, you pay a chunk of money where it's not loads of money, it's $495 currently, and you get everything in one go for the whole lifetime kind of thing. So you get to join the group and chat with everyone, chat with me, join the monthly Q&A calls with me, and you get instant access to, I think it's about 80 or so videos where it just goes through start to finish, the theory, basics, tools, how to do this, how to do that. So you kind of get everything just thrown at you in one go, because everyone comes on at a different stage, and some people might have just started and then need a bit of help. But what we're actually planning to do now is not change it too much. We're still having the community, still having that side of thing for everyone, but we're going to split up, because it's in modules at the moment, like electrics, gas, all the rest of it. So we're going to split that up into, so you can just buy a module. So let's say you've done most of your van, but you just want to know how to do all the electrics and plan your electric system. You want to do it yourself, it's like a good challenge. You want to learn it, but you just want to do that part of it, and you're not interested in getting help with the woodwork, for example. So you will be able to, once we've sorted it all out, just buy that course, and then you just get access to that course, but then you still get access to the group and the community and being able to ask questions and things. I just think it's going to open it up, I think, a little bit, because there are quite a few people that do just have a specific need for a certain thing. So, and it makes it more affordable for people as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I can imagine a lot of people get like 80% of the way there and they just need 20% help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's cool. And I had a question here, like what part of the build do people often miss out or not take seriously? And I guess this comes into your modules. Is there one module where you think people just don't take too seriously?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's maybe not take too seriously, but the one that I would say the most people say, I'll be all right at that. I'll have a crack at that, because it's the one that has less of the fear of danger and death, which is the electrics and gas kind of things. It's so the one I would say people give a crap themselves the most is the woodwork. So doing the kitchen cabinets and storage things and stuff like that. I would say that is arguably one of the hardest ones.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's easy enough to get something done, but to go from something like, super DIY look to something that looks super clean and professional is like a huge jump in kind of skill and experience and stuff. It is quite a hard one to teach, because a lot of it is just getting in the reps and the hours of actually doing it and making mistakes and stuff. But we can kind of show the techniques that we do stuff, and just simple things like how to actually measure an awkward thing out, and how to like trace on the curve of your van onto a piece of wood and cut that out properly, and like get everything to fit just right, and how to hang doors with a nice gap and stuff like that. So I would say, everyone has a crack at that, which is awesome. But I would say to then get it to the next level, and where it kind of looks nice in terms of like tolerances and everything fitting together, that's definitely a harder thing to do.
I think that's underrated. 100%.
Yeah, I
Just
think
based on
people.
our van, when I look at our van, like, how do you know, like, that cabinet that's made of wood is going to fit exactly like the curvature of the Toyota Sienna, right? I'm like, oh,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm learning stuff every day still. So I've learned a lot through stuff I've done before doing vans as well. And I work with like an old school boat builder now as well. So he's a yacht builder.
Right. Yeah.
Does a lot of that kind of work. So the techniques that he has brought to the table, he does a couple of days a week in the workshop for me, and the techniques he's brought to the table are just stuff that I wouldn't have even thought of.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that they've been doing in their community, in their world for, hundreds of years. And it is really transferable because a boat, a camper van, is very similar, lots of curves, lots of things that has to fit in odd spaces. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot of cool stuff working with him.
And in terms of clients, I guess most would be wanting to travel in their camper vans and RVs. Where I'm going with this is, I guess there may be some people who just want to build it to live in, right? Do you get that many of those clients?
I would say mostly it's to travel, pushing up to kind of longer term chunks of travel.
Got it. Yeah.
So people might be planning a kind of 6 weeks in Europe or whatever. I would say mostly it's like you want something you can go on multiple holidays a year and not have to like spend loads of money on hotels and flying everyone over somewhere or whatever, and having that flexibility. I would say that's the majority of people. There are some people, and there's a community within a community of the van world of people that live in their vans, and that's like a whole other thing. I would say more so they're self-builders and they kind of build it up, and they've got this, it's like the whole thing of the van life world, building your own van, going and kind of starting living in it and then kind of tweaking it and doing all this and meeting people and stuff. And that's super cool. And it's like this whole other thing. But I would say most people are probably in the kind of traveling, holidaying, longer term trips and travels type vibe, I would say.
Yeah. I guess my next question would be like the clients that you get that are traveling, where do they mostly go? I guess being based in the UK, they're probably going to go to Europe, aren't they?
Yeah. So a lot of people do really appreciate kind of exploring the UK and further afield. Everybody loves going to Scotland. There's the big
course. Yeah.
North Coast 500 routes and stuff like that. So that's super, super popular. And Europe, I would say kind of mainland Europe. I've had a few customers where I've had to kind of really make sure we got their insulation on point and insulated water tanks and stuff, because they're going specifically kind of around Scandinavia and stuff. And a few people that, like, for example, going skiing a lot, but it's an expensive thing to do to get chalets and stuff. So they wanted something that they could go for like 2 months of the year in a camper van to, Austria or wherever it was, in a really cold environment. So there are quite specific use cases, but I would say it's mostly UK, Europe.
Okay. And a couple more fun questions before I get you to give some details of where people can find you. The craziest request you've had?
The craziest request that we've done, or the craziest request that we turned down?
That's two different questions, isn't it?
I'll give you the craziest request that we have done successfully.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound too crazy, but it was very, very hard to do and make it right. So it was a kind of a rare thing anyway. So putting a pop top in a Sprinter, so a long wheelbase Sprinter with a pop top, you don't see that too much. Yes,
no,
it's kind of done, but not loads. So they wanted a pop top in the Sprinter, and they wanted built-in staircase going up to that also doubled as a kitchen pantry and formed part of the kitchen. So we're kind of moving away slightly from like crazy uber custom stuff now, because it takes so long to do. You end up either kind of as a business just like losing money because it's taking too long, or you know, kind of blowing through your deadlines with people, and it has a knock-on effects. So as a business thing, we probably wouldn't do this again, but it is very cool that we did it, I suppose. So we had a Sprinter with a fixed bed, pop top, little kitchen, and the kind of pantry unit like around. It's kind of hard to explain, but that kind of went up in steps. So each thin pantry unit was a bit taller than the other one, with a kind of worktop slab on top, and went round a corner. And when you pulled the pop top up, and it had a hatch in the ceiling, and then you walked up the pantry like a staircase into the roof space.
Wow.
It doesn't actually sound that crazy now talking about it.
It sounds pretty impressive though.
To get that all working right in the space so that as you went up the pantry, your head just started going through the hole and you didn't bang it on the ceiling and, and it still worked as pull out pantry drawers and it fitted in with the kitchen and, you can have the fridge and the sink and hob in there and stuff. It was super hard to get that all to work just right. And I think that's the kind of, when you see what I would say is kind of good design, I think looks quite simple, but then to get it to that stage is quite hard. And I think you nail it when it looks like it's really easy. And hopefully we did that in this one, but you can have a little Google and have a little look online and see for yourself if you think we did it.
It's like that phrase in journaling. I'm not sure what the exact phrase is. I think it's like easy reading is hard writing.
Yes.
Something like that, right?
Yeah. Harder to write for a tabloid than a broadsheet. Is that right?
There's that one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the books that you read that are easy to read is actually quite hard to write, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And for people who are maybe interested to get in contact for a discovery call or to join your course, etc., where can people find you for quotations or emails and social media as well?
So you can come through to us either on Instagram, which is at bearhugcampers, all one word, BEARHUG campers, or bearhugcampers.co.uk. Mm-hmm. And there's a web form on there that comes straight through to us. Any way you get through to us, you're in those routes, we'll reply and answer questions or have a call with us if you want something more done. And if you want to join our course, it's just on our website and you can kind of just go for it in your own time.
Okay, great. And before we get to the quickfire travel questions, any exciting projects on the horizon?
I think the one that I'm most excited about is, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but it's trying to get a VW Transporter T6 build in our signature style. So it looks like one of our nice big airy custom campers, but it's in a small van and it's something that we can do a bit quicker and maybe repeat a bit more, still having loads of customization in it, but trying to get that as almost like a product. It's like, this is the base. These are your upgrades you can do. These are your options you can change. And it's done in X amount of time for X amount of money. And I think that will help make the kind of that custom style of van hopefully a bit more accessible to people as well.
Okay.
Rather than thinking you have to spend, like 70 grand on a massive Sprinter or something like that. You can spend, a third of that and get something that looks amazing still. And I think there's a lot of people that just don't like necessarily the kind of plastic, fantastic styling of a lot of stuff, which is nothing wrong with that at all. That's a big kind of style and stuff. And it absolutely has its place. It's just personal preference for what you like your finished product to look like.
Okay. And it's actually final question. Is there like a waiting time when you do your projects?
Yeah, I'd say it's not official, but it usually ends up being a kind of rolling 6 months or so. So sometimes people book up, like a year in advance, but generally somebody will be booking for like the one after the one we're doing.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. So like 2 or 3 ahead and like that, which ends up being about, 6 to 9 months or something. But smaller jobs, we see if we can fit it in kind of a bit quicker than that.
Oh, awesome. Okay. That's great to know. So we're going to finish the episode with some quickfire travel questions. This is a little feature at the end. First thing comes to your mind. I'm actually going to nick some of the questions that you've answered already on my notes. So it's going to be an easy start. I'm actually going to ask, where is the most scenic spot you parked a van?
I would say the classic on the coast, looking out over the sea. So that would be, in our case, on the south coast. So when you open your back doors, all you can see is sea. And it doesn't mean that if you turn the other way, there isn't a car park, but you don't need to see that. You can just look one way out the back of your van. And I just think nothing beats having that kind of beach sea look, preferably deserted out the back of the van and the sea air and stuff. Yeah.
Agreed.
Perfect.
Okay. I'll give you 3 here, 3 items that you'd never hit the road without.
I'm going to be really boring with this one. It's not going to be super interesting, but it's going to be bin bags. Yeah. Everyone forgets about where to put your rubbish when you're away. Bin bags, wet wipes, and it will be something for our dog. So either a long lead and a stake to put it in the ground, or just a long lead because we've got kind of clips on the van and stuff. So yeah, long lead for the dog, bin bags and wet wipes. Super practical.
Okay. And top 3 dream destinations to go on road trip that you haven't been to before?
I haven't been to before. So Canada, actually, I think would be incredible. Yeah. And I just love the look of the forests and countryside and stuff. And I think, just get a massive RV and just go for it. Did you say 3 places?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, 3 places. So I haven't actually done the North Coast 500 in Scotland, that route.
Oh, yeah.
So that or some rendition of that route, I would really like to do. And another one, I just watched, which one was it? I watched one of the Ewan McGregor long way rounds.
Oh, we just finished that. We just finished the newest one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of watched that and then we just watched them all because we kind of just like binged it. But they went round through Mongolia and and I just had no idea what
desolate
was like. And that's totally my vibe. That looks incredible. Maybe not so much for road tripping because kind of a lack of roads, but something like that. If I could find that vibe somewhere to kind of go around, like some of the big desolate beaches I went to in Iceland, it's just got that really, really, I don't know, cool atmosphere.
Okay.
Yeah.
And top 3 favorite countries that you've traveled to?
Iceland, Sweden, and Japan.
Okay. And this is not road trip specific, just in general. Top 3 destinations on your hit list that are next if you can go tomorrow.
If I go tomorrow, it'd be Norway, Iceland again, because I love it. And I think Belgium was on our list to go to next. I have been as a kid and we just always like to have a nice, easy to get to kind of not too far away one that we can just go to. So yeah, something like Norway would be like a big trip, like a solid holiday exploring and stuff. But yeah, for a little quickfire one, definitely somewhere like Belgium.
Okay, here's a controversial question. Is there a popular van that people buy that you would never buy to have as a camper van or conversion?
That is a good question. I wouldn't say there is a popular one that I would never buy, but I did do an electric transit, kind of some smaller jobs on it. And although I love the idea of, kind of eco stuff with vehicles, I just don't think it was quite there yet with vans, unfortunately. And I wouldn't buy one yet. So their range is like not good enough. And the main thing for camper vans is because of the weight of the batteries, they are like unbelievably heavy, which gives you, even though you've got a big space, it gives you like 0 amount of kind of weight room to play with. So, you'd get 20% into your van build and already the van would be overweight. So I think until either the technology gets better in kind of battery storage or something, I don't think they're going to be super popular for van conversions, or we skip electric entirely and do the next thing, which whatever that is, hydrogen fuel or something, then I think we're talking. But I think I wouldn't get one of those yet. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but I don't think I would.
So that's an electric vehicle or electric van? Yeah,
so it was a big transit, so like a transit panel van.
Oh yeah,
it's called the e-transit. It looked amazing, but I was just, as I was kind of working on it, I was thinking, is this the way forward? Would I get this? And it unfortunately came out to a no at this time.
Okay, interesting. That's good to know. Okay, if you could drive somewhere to any spot in the world with a cup of coffee and watch the world go by for an afternoon, where are you going to drive to?
Any spot in the world?
Yeah, just to sit there and watch the world go by for an afternoon.
I think it would be, really enjoyed sitting in, there was this little barbecue place on the side of one of the main roads that kind of went through the edge of the Nevada desert. And I sat there for a good few hours in the middle of the day, just having some barbecue foods, resting from the bike in the heat under shade. And I saw all sorts of interesting people and cars and vehicles and stuff and people stopping. And that was really fun. And there are other people out there, with their little deck chairs and stuff, just watching the world go by, in this tiny, tiny little village, if it's called a village or whatever. Yeah, I do quite like people watching and stuff. And in those quite remote outback type places, you do see some cool stuff and some interesting people.
Okay. What's your favourite camping meal?
Favourite camping meal? Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. So, you can get the packs of rice that have got like beans and whatever mixed in. That's like for a microwave.
Yeah.
If you get one of those, put it in a pot, and then also put a tin of baked beans in, and then
wow.
And then maybe if you've got like a courgette or just a random veg somewhere, chop that up, and it's like a 3-minute risotto weird thing, and it's bizarrely nice. And I think my taste buds change when I'm out in a van or on a campsite or something. I would never have that at home ever, but for some reason it's so easy and quick to eat, and when you're eating it, it's just really warming and quite nice of an evening. And I'm probably going to regret that I've shared that with the world, but
I've never heard that on the podcast. Yeah. Okay, and the last question is going to be, if you could give like 1 or 2 sentences as to why someone should maybe road trip a country or a place or somewhere new. Maybe they're nervous about it, or they have never done it before. Maybe like, what could you say to convince them that it's like, I think, one of the best ways to travel?
I'd say if you're a bit nervous about it, or if you're maybe doing it on your own or something, there are some groups that you can kind of link up with. I know some in the UK. I'm sure there are plenty in the rest of the world, and they often do sort of loosely organised trips where they can kind of go together. So having a little bit of a crew when you're traveling, I think is really nice, just for a bit of morale. If you're going on your own, or maybe you're a bit nervous about it, I would say maybe for the first time, be as legitimate as possible in terms of where you're staying, because it just takes so much stress off. So if you're kind of going and you're on your own, it might be your first big trip, and it's a new van that you just built or whatever, I would say maybe that's not the time to go trying to find some wild spots or lay-bying or whatever like that. So maybe just plan the places you're going and actually pay for a pitch somewhere, just to take that bit of stress off. That would probably be my 2 cents on that.
Agreed. I think some people go diving into the most remote place, don't they? Yeah. Which you'll learn a lot in a short space of time, but it's a bold move.
Yeah. Build it up from there.
Yeah. Okay, John, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been a great chat. I think people are going to get some good nuggets and advice there for any campervan conversion builds, or if they need to see some help from you or your company. So I think they're going to learn a lot from this, and hopefully they'll get in contact and speak to you and get some cool ideas, or even work with you. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your knowledge and insight.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Speak soon.
Cheers. Thank you.